Every year at our annual conference, we go to the Hill. And I'd never been to the Hill before. That's just an afternoon where we set out in groups of 5 or 6, and we have appointments with members of the House and Senate and their staffs and their legislative aides. And we go and explain our programs and our priorities. And it's a really interesting experience. You talk about government in action. We get to sit down for sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. Sometimes we're sitting in a nice office. Sometimes we're in a stairwell standing up because that's the reality of Capitol Hill. But we have an opportunity to speak directly to the people who are making laws or their staff members who are influencing them on which laws to support. And it's a really interesting experience that very few Americans have. And, the first time I kind of sat in the background, I was the number 6 guy in a group of 6 and was a little bit intimidated. But after a couple of years, I was the person who could lead our group around and start that conversation. And it was a growth opportunity for me, but really it was the idea that we as citizens have the right and the opportunity to go in and talk to our elected officials and people in their office about what's on our mind. The greatest thing is the reception afterwards, because I talk to the people who are doing it for the first time and they're like, that was really cool. That was really cool. I mean, I was walking in the halls of Congress. They didn't know what to expect, but I've never heard anyone say, I could have done better things with those 3 hours. It's just, yeah, it's really interesting. And they get something to go home and talk about, because how many Americans have ever done that? I didn't mention you get treats. So members will typically hand out something that's made in their district. So my representative from southeastern Massachusetts will have raisins because they're made here. The representative from the Waco, Texas area has candy because Mars has a big factory there. There's one in Minnesota, I understand, has an ice cream machine. I've never been to that office. So you do get stuff like that. The other thing that's really cool is the history. I mean, I was in one office and the representative was saying, this office was once occupied by JFK, his first term in the House, and also by Jeanette Rankin. And he said, you guys all know JFK is. Yeah, does anybody know who Jeanette Rankin was? And there were like 5 of us. I was the only one who knew who Jeanette Rankin was and why she was important historically. Jeanette Rankin was the first woman to serve in the House. She was elected in 1916 before women had the right to vote. In 1918, she was one of 3 members to vote against our entry into World War I, the Great War. And Montanans threw her out of office. And she just went home and retired. Somehow she was elected again in 1940. And another vote came up on December 8th, 1941, and she was the only one who voted against entry into World War II. She was a pacifist, didn't believe in war. So that's how she made her name.